Hi, welcome to Spinster's Library. I'm Charlie.
And I'm Claudia.
And today I'm going to be talking about my modern sci-fi favourites. My favourite genre is fantasy or sci-fi, and so I'm just going to talk about a couple of books, 3 books actually, that I have loved from the past few years. So the first one is The Martian.
Hang on, can I just ask you a question before we get into them?
Yeah, of course.
How do you define modern sci-fi? Based on when it's been published, or...?
Yeah, a big part of it's that, but non-classic sci-fi, I'd say. It's sort of the ideas as well, and the way it's written that makes it modern. These ones, most of them are LGBT as well, which is quite cool.
And that's part of the modern
kind of so it's not like modernism. I wouldn't call them,
maybe
the modern
contemporary
movement.
sci-fi.
Yeah, contemporary is a better word. Okay, contemporary sci-fi fix. So yes, The Martian by Andy Weir, I think is how you pronounce that.
Yeah, that's how I'd pronounce it.
This came out originally in 2013. It was self-published and then picked up by a publishing house in 2014 because it's so good. And then it became a major motion picture with Matt Damon in.
And that was
2015, I think 2015. So it got really big really quickly.
Okay.
But basically the premise of it is that NASA sent a mission to Mars. It's for about a week they were supposed to be on there to just like gather samples and analysis and stuff like that. And then a storm happens. This is in the first chapter, so I'm not really spoiling anything. But a storm happens and they try and leave, and one of them gets left behind by accident, and they think he's dead, and he's not dead. And that's the main character. It's a survival thriller. And it's about this guy figuring out how to survive on Mars.
So is it quite fast-paced then?
Yeah, it can be. It can be quite slow as well, though, at some points. Because I feel like the author sat down and asked him, hey, what can go wrong on Mars? I'll write everything. Everything that can go wrong does.
Is it set in sort of today's time?
Yeah, definitely. It's completely contemporary.
Okay.
It's just as if the science was a little bit more advanced enough for them to send humans to Mars.
Yeah, I'd be up for reading that.
Oh, definitely. It's really interesting. And it's one of the funniest books I've read in a while because it's first person and the main character is just... he's so done with everything. So, like, just let me read the first few sentences.
Okay.
And, warning, there is swearing in this. Like, quite a lot of swearing.
We don't care.
So, chapter 1. I'm pretty much fucked. That's my considered opinion. Fucked. And that's how it starts. And it sort of doesn't get better from there.
Okay.
But yes, it's got some of my favourite quotes, such as I'm going to science the shit out of this, which I want on a t-shirt. It's very real for as much as it is sci-fi. All the science is thought through. All of his suffering is thought through. And he does remind us that he hasn't showered in months and he stinks as well. So you constantly remember that this is disgusting. This is a disgusting book. But the film's good as well. Plus it has Sebastian Stan in and I love him.
I don't know who that is.
He's Bucky in the... You don't know Captain America either.
I don't really watch films.
I'm so disappointed.
And all Americans look the same.
Then my next book is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. It's such a great book. This was published in, I want to say 2014.
Yeah, I feel like it was. This is one I've heard of, and it's actually on my to-read list on Goodreads
well, I'm
already.
definitely going to leave it here for you. Because this basically is about the main character is called Rosemary Harper, and she is running away from her home. She hasn't done anything, but she wants to get away from her family, basically. And so she joins a ship called the Wayfarer, and they build tunnels through space, basically. And it's really cool, because what they do, basically, is they punch through the dimensions. And, tunnel through dimensions.
So is it like an adventure story?
Sort of. What it is... do you know what a bottle episode is?
No.
Okay, so there's this idea in... When you do TV series.
Yeah.
Called a bottle episode, where you force all the characters into one room.
Oh, yeah, Doctor Who's got one of these every series, yeah.
And they can't escape. And it's all about how people react being trapped together.
I love these types of episodes. They're some of my favourites in any TV show.
So it's very character-driven. It's all about how humans, or aliens in this case, react with each other.
That sounds super interesting.
Yeah, the main romance is LGBT, which I love as well. And there's an AI in it, which is awesome. Anyway, it's good. So I'd say read that as well. And then the last book I wanted to talk about is We Are the Ants by Shaun David Hutchingson, which has also got a really pretty cover.
Yeah, it does.
Now, I'm just going to...
Same kind of aesthetic, really.
Yeah, well, that's the aesthetic I go for when I see books. But I'm just going to give a content warning. There is talk of a sexual assault in this book. So if that's not your jam, don't read it. It's not a big part of it, but there is also talk about suicide and stuff like that and depression, and it's not great for happiness.
Yeah.
If you want happiness, actually no, not really any of the books I've talked about so far. They're all sort of depressing in ways.
If you want happiness, read The Rainbow Fish. It's from a different video. It's going to make no sense whatsoever.
Read children's books. What about Clifford the Big Red Dog? Did you not have that?
I am German. I don't know how many times.
I know. Anyway, so it's actually set on Earth, but it's about a main character called Henry who is abducted by aliens at night. And nobody believes him. But the aliens have taken him for years since he was like 13. They've set him down and said, okay, you have a year to decide whether to save the world or destroy it. And they said, you can press this button to save the world. And if you don't, everyone's going to die. That's basically the premise. And it's a sort of a coming of age story.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about whether he decides to save people if he thinks the world is worth living in. And it's all about the repercussions of your actions.
Okay, so it's quite a philosophical one.
Yeah,
Deep one.
it's pretty depressing in parts, but it's also very teenage. The main character is, I think, he's 16
Okay.
or 17 or something like that. His boyfriend committed suicide the year before, so that's where you start in the story.
Mhm.
So he's super depressed about everything.
Sounds
But
like
yeah,
a good book as well. I think I'd like to keep that as well, if you don't mind.
of course, it makes my
Yeah.
bag lighter.
I've just remembered something. Can I give you one recommendation
Yes,
for
of
modern
course.
sci-fi? I don't know if you've read Terra by Mitch Benn.
No,
Do you know Mitch Benn, the comedian?
no.
He's the sort of person who's like big on the radio, but
Okay,
not,
yeah.
not on
I don't
TV.
really listen to the radio much.
He wrote a sci-fi kids book called Terra, so it's for children,
Mhm.
and it's about a human girl who grows up on an alien planet because she was abducted by
Awesome.
an alien.
Okay, I'll have a look for it. That
Yeah.
sounds awesome.
Well, it's on my bookshelf,
There's
so I can
also-
show you later.
Cool. There's a second one of the Becky Chambers books
Okay.
that I have at home but I haven't read it yet, which came out last year.
Mhm.
I got it. I pre-ordered it, but I haven't read it yet because I'm that sort of person.
We'll get to it one day.
I'm the person who buys books and then doesn't read them. And
Aren't
it's-
we all?
Yeah. So those are my recommendations. If you have any recommendations of contemporary sci-fi that you think we should have a look at, I would be very happy to read those comments.
Yes.
Because I
Please,
love sci-fi.
please do leave the recommendations.
But yeah, thank you for watching.
Bye.